episode 1, season 2. I'm Dante Bullhauer. I'm a photographer.
Jamie Bullhauer, and I'm a writer.
And this is The Creative Moment, and we talk all things creativity, how it plays into our lives. You know, we're kind of in different media worlds, so we have different ways of, different perspectives on creativity and things.
Part of that is generational.
A little bit, yeah. And so we'll go ahead and crack open our bubblers for season 2 of The Creative Moment. And we thought we would start off season 2 in style, outdoors. It's a beautiful evening in September here. And today we are talking time management with creativity, especially just personally. This is something that I sometimes really struggle with. It's a hurdle for anybody in any field, just managing your time wisely. And so that's kind of what we're talking about today.
And the seed of this one in class showed a TED Talk by Tim Urban, Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator. And in that TED Talk has a little bit of fun about why people procrastinate. And when deadlines come on, though, in his TED Talk, he has the panic monster. And the panic monster generates us into action. We get stuff done. Not always good, but we meet our deadline. But in this talk, he talks about when he blogged about this, receiving all these emails from lots of different people who are actually in a very low place because they acknowledge that they procrastinated, but because they didn't have deadlines and stuff like that, they were procrastinating on their dreams, on their creativity, on things that really mattered, because there's no deadline. And as I was watching, I'm just like, man, anybody who really is in the field of creativity, you don't have a lot of deadlines unless you have a job or you're a best-selling author maybe, and you have to get your next book. But for a lot of us who do this because we love it, and I don't make a lot of money off of my craft, it's like these deadlines are not there, and therefore we were just, as we were setting up, talking about, I've got 2 solid books that I really should have done by now, and I don't. And it's not exactly procrastination, but there's not a deadline. What is your hurdle? Because in photography, you got a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
But
so I am my own business owner, my own photography, video, graphic design, whatever. I am my own boss. So I kind of determine my own deadlines in terms of, obviously some people want this stuff done by a certain date. But for the most part, I set my own deadlines on, okay, this project needs to be done here. And what I find a lot is, a lot of the times when I am doing projects for other people, that will come before projects that I personally feel fulfilled by. So for example, I have a YouTube channel that I haven't posted on since, I think, June, maybe May, a long time. And I've been wanting to post videos and create videos and all this stuff. Summer has been my busiest time so far, and so I am like, okay, well, this stuff has no deadline. There's no set date for this next YouTube video to go out, so I'll just push it to the next week, and that becomes like next month. I haven't posted a YouTube video since I think May, and that pains me inside, because that's something I'm really passionate about, growing and creating. And so for a creative, and especially being your own boss, to not have a deadline is something that, kind of comes in waves for me in terms of discipline. Okay, I need to get this done for me by this date versus, okay, I need to get this stuff done for other people and then worry about me. It's something I go back and forth on a lot. But it all comes down to self-discipline. What can you control yourself in doing? And so I always try and, get up at least somewhat early, and just as soon as I wake up, before, I'm bombarded by other people texting me, emailing me, all that stuff, just work for these, whatever it is, 3 hours, 4 hours, and get this stuff done. And that is kind of like whatever you get done here, like that's the stuff that needs to be done by whatever deadline I set.
Yeah. And Stephen King, and I'm sorry if you guys get annoyed with that a little bit. No, but he's my favorite author. I know a lot about him, and like he has a schedule to where he writes in the morning, like, and shuts the door. Nobody bothers him, and having that schedule, as you mentioned, that other people's jobs are important because obviously you have a business now. You have an interest responsibility. On my side, it's almost the same thing, but it also, family has been not a procrastination thing, but you choose what's important to you. And in the creative world, sometimes we can actually get lost too much with responsibility. Like for a long time as a dad, especially young kids, I put my writing, to the side. I still blogged, I still wrote some poetry, but you guys also motivated me to finally get past and just publish my own book. And then as soon as I published that first Under the Lights, then I started publishing my chapbooks for poetry because I kind of got a new habit. But yeah, because there's no deadline, I've got 2 solid books that got really good word count that just have not got any work in a while. And we only have so much time and energy in a day, and I think though that the other aspect is for creatives is that it honestly takes a good chunk of time to actually get into whatever you're doing.
Yep.
You can't. Yes, you can write down a few words, and I take down notes on Post-it notes. But yet, to really create a poem, really do a photo shoot, really paint, you have to have some time, and you have to get into the zone a little bit with that.
When I do specifically like photo editing, I can do somewhat in little spurts, like 5 minutes at a time sometimes. But for specifically video editing and graphic design, I at least, like very minimum, need an hour or more to really feel like I did something productive in that time. Because otherwise, if I spend half an hour video editing, I feel like I didn't really like dive into it. I didn't put like my creativity into that project. And so, yeah, I completely agree with that. Like we give ourselves so much to, the daily responsibilities and like other people's projects, that sort of thing, that we don't always have the energy or the time to really just kind of give ourselves to the projects that we want to do just creatively for ourselves. Because to do that, you do need quite a bit of energy, quite a bit of creative, just like upbeat creativity, and you need, a couple hours to spare to even feel like you gave the work that was, necessary to do that project justice.
Yeah. And so one of the things, though, because we want to try to be helpful, and actually Dante got me started on a way to kind of try to handle my responsibilities. Okay, and he got
the 5 critical things.
Yep, and
Okay.
he got that from somebody else, but that's our world, sharing ideas and stuff like that. And so I do this system that Dante's going to talk about here in a second when I sit down at my desk when I get to school. Why don't you go expand on this one idea that has helped both of us, actually, I think, get some stuff done.
So again, this is a Peter McKinnon thing. I love Peter McKinnon. I copy a lot of what he does, but this is just more of a productivity thing. So every day I wake up, I shower, I eat breakfast, and after I eat breakfast, before I do anything else during the day, I have this little journal, and I write down the 5 critical things that I consider need to be done today, or need to have progress on them today. And so the kind of gist of it is write down 5 things that you need to, and it doesn't need to be big things like get this whole project done or finish this entire book today. Just little steps that you can complete in one day that will help you move forward in life, whether it's, just life in general, whether it's responsibilities with your family or it's creativity. Most of my stuff is obviously creative stuff, but at the top of every day I write, something that has to do with me mentally, whether it's like pray today or have positivity, that sort of thing. And then the other 4 things are edit this senior photos, make progress on this video. And so you write down 5, Peter does 8, I did 5, critical things that you like to justify you having a productive day. These 5 things are the most important things that you should get done today. And so I do that every morning, before I even start my day. It's just kind of a habit now. And you see, like, kind of the incentive is to see how long of a streak you can get of doing those 5 things every day. And that helps me tenfold. I know we talk about it all the time on text message about like, hey, I've got this many done. It's like 10:30 a.m. whatever. But it's a really good thing. I recommend it to a lot of people. Just write down 5 things that you want to make progress on, get done today. And then if you cross all those things off, a lot of the times when I cross all those off, I usually am that much more motivated to get more stuff done. And so,
well, yeah, and you get it done sooner.
Yep.
And I know there's some other motivational things like eat the frog first. Which means
I do not know that.
Or something like that, to where you're supposed to do the worst job first and get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I might have messed that up, but who cares? I don't like that one though, actually, and I don't hold myself to 5 because every once in a while it's just like I know that I've got grading, and I'm like, I've got to get these essays graded today, and that might be the only thing. But what's really interesting, as Dante mentioned, and like for mental or spiritual part, is as a dad, a little bit every once in a while, I'll notice, like, if I haven't talked to Sebastian in a while, I'm like, okay, I just need to send a text message today, because that's a critical thing. That's a critical thing that day. I'm like, I feel, it's like I haven't talked to him in a bit, and what I like about it is that they're essential. There are things that are for living, and our creativity, as we've always reinforced, is a part of us. And when we don't delve into and making our creative things a critical part of our day, then I feel bad.
Easily gets pushed.
Yeah, it gets pushed away, and then your inner spirit just gets downgrade. Like, it just feels low. And so I break my streak every once in a while, and kind of breaking the streak meaning like I don't get everything off the list, but that's okay too, because it is progress. It's like, okay, I can move this, because it's not that checklist type of thing exactly. It's just, this is what I know my day is going to be like. The other thing I think that matters for creatives to a degree, and this is a little bit of a balance, is being okay with what you decide is important. And what I mean for that part, if I am going to put writing away a little bit and focus on family or focus on grading or okay. The hard part is that's the balance. It so easily goes awry, and that's where having a system like 5 critical things, I can write a new poem in a new form today. And it's like, okay, and it helps bring that back. But you still got to be true to who you are and be okay with what you choose is important. And I guess at my age, I'm 50 years old, I hope I become a best-selling author sometime. But I'm okay with writing and my very short stories and my poetry and doing that stuff. I'm okay with that because I know the other things that I've spent my time with. But if I have a different drive, like you have a different, because you have a business connected to that.
Yep.
So how does that actually come into play? Because you're at, as we mentioned before, generational a little bit. You're at the beginning of this whole adult life, and like, how do you
Yeah.
Deal with what is important for the next couple of years.
So there's kind of like two separate points I want to kind of touch on. So sometimes a lot of my day has to do with kind of not so much creativity, more of the business side. A lot of days I write down budget, and that I have a budgeting sheet, like just so I know where my accounts are at, like how much money I've spent, how much money I've made, that type of stuff. Like almost every day, that is one of the things that's on my list, because I just, it's just kind of a business thing that I want to keep track of in terms of like how well is the business doing. There's a lot of times like send invoices, write this contract, do this stuff that doesn't relate to creativity but relates to my business. So there's days for that, and those days are typically more boring, but also if you don't send out the invoice, you don't get paid. It has to be done. And so that's something that I'm still just trying to figure out, because usually on those days I don't feel as productive because I'm not working on a project, but I'm still growing the business as a whole. And then the other part is when you're your own boss, a lot of the times the 9 to 5 does not happen for me at all. Like it's usually way skewed hours, and so sometimes just stepping back and unplugging. Like I took a vacation here in the middle of August. I went up to South Dakota, and it was huge for me just to kind of step back, and I still took photos, edited photos, because I wanted to do that. You know, we were in the Black Hills and I wanted to take photos, but it wasn't business related. And just to step back from work calls, from work emails, was a huge thing to write. And I wrote it like on my critical things. You see, like just like enjoy yourself or like relax or something, is stuff that I will write down like on Sundays or on vacation, just because I do feel like I am a harder boss than most bosses in a 9 to 5 job would be. And so I feel it is important to have concrete times when I unplug, and I either come over for dinner and spend some time with family, or I just don't open my computer, because there is no one telling me when to work, when to not work, when to turn it off, when to turn it on. So a lot of times I will basically fall asleep editing photos, because I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything, I should probably be working right now. And so just keeping perspective of, you know, if this job doesn't get done today, it's not the end of the world. It's, you know, it's critical to me for me to take a break today. So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to make sure that, you know, I take a step back, so that when I do jump back into working on these photos, I can give it my all, instead of feeling like, oh, I kind of need a break, I don't want to abandon these photos. And so a lot of it is making sure there's a kind of a concrete difference between this time and this time, based on, you know, kind of what you're doing.
When they, and not that you would remember, because that was a couple of years ago, but because I'm the senior sponsor, you know, and stuff, and I talked to you guys a little bit about college and stuff. Like, one of the things I told about scheduling is, don't just schedule your study time. You actually schedule the things that are important to you. Because your freshman year in college and all that stuff, you can get overwhelmed. Like, schedule 2 hours to go play Frisbee golf or something when you're at college. Because, again, that balance in all of our lives can get skewed really quickly. And I don't remember exactly where I had learned about that to a degree, scheduling the things that ignite your spirit and stuff. It was probably an article or something, but I've always, when I talk to seniors about that, it's like, don't forget that stuff. That stuff's just as important. Because if you don't feed your soul, your spirit, whatever, you don't do the things that you love, creativity-wise, or even relax, then that's where you get that, you know, burnout or that heavy weight, and it feels like you can't ever get up that hill. Well, it's because you only have so much time and energy, and we get our energy from the things we do with our time. And so it's important to schedule, you know, relaxation, the important things like bills and invoices, but also just time alone, you know, things like along those lines.
So I want to hear a little bit. You have a lot more going on in your day than I do typically. Typically, my day is spent with me, myself, and I just, doing whatever. You have, you're a teacher, you have a family, obviously. There is a large chunk of your day that has to be dedicated to these certain things. And so finding time to write, a lot of times your energy is probably pretty low at the end of the day, and you're like, oh, this is the only time I have to write today. What does that look like for you in terms of making the time, avoiding feeling just burnt out of just everything, to find time to, delve into that creativity and actually write and stuff?
Well, so honestly, that 5, and even though I don't always do 5, that really sets a good tone. And some days I just know that I've got to grade essays. But as you know from your class, I work really hard at the beginning. Everything's organized, everything, due dates, when you open that class, remember, that whole semester was done. And so I make sure on all my responsibilities, to a degree, is that I'm organized, it's scheduled. But one of the things this year that I've done, I scheduled 10 minutes just to read. And that's on my list, and I set the timer on my phone, and I just read for 10 minutes. When that's up, I do other things. But to a degree, I've still got a little bit of that flat, you were at home for lunch today. I got everybody's lunch ready, just like I do, everything. And I ate a little bit early, and I said, okay, I'm going to sit while you guys are eating lunch. I got a poetic form I'm working with I'm going to submit a little bit later. Put my headphones on, which I listen to music when I'm being creative, and we've talked about that before. And I put my headphones on, and to a degree, I think that because I broke, when you guys were in junior high, and I was at the one job where I wrote Under the Lights, that I showed that writing was important. And the girls, just they left me alone, they knew, okay, Dad's gonna be and I spent an hour writing this poem, and now I'll work on it this week. And so sometimes it's unscheduled, but I kind of know, because of the routine of our family, that I have these moments that I can go ahead and delve into it. And it's kind of a habit. I can kind of get into the zone, which is going to be a topic for another episode about the flow. But headphone, playlist,
yeah.
I know what I'm doing, and I just spent that whole hour, and it was awesome. I think this is a pretty cool poem, actually, and we'll see if it gets accepted, but that's, So I'm very organized at the beginning. When we go on to zoo trips and stuff, we got packed, we got this, we spend time being organized so that things go smoothly. And when something unexpected happens, we're kind of prepared, and yet we can still be spontaneous. But it's just, I am organized to that, and yeah, I just...
Yeah, so I think, kind of with this conversation, just in ways that you can, be productive, just kind of manage your time better. At the beginning of every day, it doesn't have to be 5 critical things or whatever, like you talked about. It's not always 5. Sometimes there's one big project that you have to get done, and that takes up your whole day. But just taking a little bit of time, whether it's in the morning, whatever, just do some reflection and think about what is my day going to look like? And it doesn't need to be set in stone, like you talked about. You still have time to be spontaneous. You don't always know when that creativity is gonna.
You don't know when you
up.
might be spurred either, where you might all of a sudden see a photo that you want to take, and as the unexpected, and that's joyful in the creation part.
And so just kind of staying somewhat organized, prioritizing your day can really help you manage your time in ways where, like right now, I feel pretty overwhelmed, and I've realized, this weekend I haven't written down 5 critical. Like I've been moving apartments. Like more on that later, but it's just been kind of a chaotic weekend, and I'm sitting here now and I feel just a little overwhelmed because I haven't written down what I need to prioritize, and so kind of getting into the routine of, okay, here's what my day is going to look like, can really help your creativity kind of breed better results just in you knowing, okay, this and this needs to get done today. This is not so creative, but this is my creative time. This is my creative project.
And I just because stress makes you burn energy. And if you're stressed, you're burning that energy. And then when you do get time, and you're tired.
Yep.
When you're organized and you know that you have to work and you focus, you get it done efficiently, you still can have some stress, but it's not that panic, overwhelming, the weight, that stuff burns through your energy probably quicker than most any external drive that is out there, and leaves you feeling deflated.
Yeah. And so, I hope we kind of helped you guys figure out, creativity is kind of a hard thing to prioritize. Like we talked about, we both have projects that we should have had done by now that, just kind of get by the wayside. But hopefully there's some tips in there that you guys can use to better manage your time, better just kind of stay organized and know what your days are going to look like, where you can find that creativity in your day. I hope you enjoyed the little different scenery, the beautiful sunset here as we open up season 2. We're excited to keep this thing going. This was The Creative Moment, season 2, episode 1. And we will see you guys in a couple weeks.